Welcome to the Peaceful Mind in Life channel. In today's world, we cannot help but feel the overwhelming madness surrounding us, from the constantly fluctuating news to conflicts, social tensions, and global instability. The image of the world is like a storm sweeping us away, making us feel disoriented, not knowing where to stop. Have you ever felt like you were caught in this vortex, unable to break free, unable to keep your mind and emotions steady? This is one of the greatest challenges that people today face: how not to be swept away by the events around us, how to remain calm and focused on the most important things. It feels like the whole world is turning upside down, and every day is a battle to reclaim peace of mind. The important thing here is not to let the external storms take away our inner peace. When talking about facing the madness around us, I do not mean that we should be indifferent or withdraw from social life. Stoicism is not about avoiding or becoming insensitive to everything. On the contrary, it encourages us to focus on what we can change, do our best within our capabilities, and live responsibly with what we can control. In these difficult and tumultuous times, I want to emphasize an extremely important virtue in Stoicism: justice. This is the virtue that helps us perceive and act fairly and rationally towards what surrounds us, despite the storms and challenges. Without justice, other virtues in life lose their value. Courage can become dangerous if directed toward wrongful purposes or unjust ideals. Justice, in my view, is not just an abstract ideal but a guiding compass for our every action. It is about not standing aside when witnessing wrongdoings, not being indifferent to injustice, whether it happens far away or close to us. If each of us could see justice as a responsibility in life, perhaps this world would become fairer, with less suffering. Stoicism teaches us that every action we take can impact the community, and that is precisely why justice is indispensable in the journey of a Stoic. Justice is one of the fundamental virtues in Stoic philosophy. Stoicism, an ideology that has been forged over thousands of years and always offers important lessons on how to live a meaningful life. To me, justice is not just a virtue within the Stoic philosophical system but also the soul of other virtues. Without justice, other virtues become meaningless and can lead to deviation, even destruction of both the individual and society. Stoicism is not just an ideology for those who want to become tough and resilient, it is also a philosophy of life closely linked to social service and justice. We cannot live only for ourselves but must understand that every action we take impacts the community and the world around us. Justice is the element that helps us determine which actions are right and guide us toward the common good rather than just personal gain. One of the highlights of Stoic philosophy is the emphasis on virtues such as courage, self-control, wisdom, and justice. But all these virtues become meaningless without justice. You may have courage, but if the ideal you pursue is wrong or unjust, then that courage is simply blindness. Lord Byron, a famous English poet, once said, "Reason will make courage noble or make it base." This statement holds a profound lesson about justice in life. Courage only has meaning when it is directed toward a noble purpose, a good ideal for the common good of humanity. If courage is not aligned with values of fairness, it is merely meaningless bravery, which can even lead to serious consequences for oneself and others. Think of the figures in history who had courage but pursued wrongful ideals. A clear example is soldiers in meaningless wars. They may have fought bravely, but when that war had no just cause, when it caused suffering and death to countless innocent people, that courage became wasted. Courage, if not directed toward good purposes, is merely an act of self-destruction. A clear example illustrating the importance of justice in determining the value of courage is the life of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of President John F. Kennedy. Although he was a person with strong ideals and always fought for what he believed was right, when the ideals he pursued became problematic, his courage became ambiguous. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a prominent figure in the environmental protection movement and an advocate for people's rights against environmental destruction. However, in recent years, he has also sparked controversy over his views on vaccines. He has put forward baseless theories about the dangers of vaccines and has called for an end to vaccination programs, even though there is no scientific evidence supporting his claims. While he may feel that he is standing up for the truth, when his ideals lack a solid foundation and cause harm to the community, that courage is no longer respected. Just like the warriors of the past who sacrificed for an unjust war, his bravery loses its value when it does not serve the common good but only supports unsubstantiated personal views. This is precisely the lesson that Stoicism wants to convey. Justice must be the foundation of every action. Courage may be a noble virtue, but if it is directed toward wrongful purposes, it will become a destructive tool rather than something good. In the context of the modern world, where information spreads rapidly and political and social conflicts occur everywhere, justice becomes more important than ever. We cannot stand aside when witnessing social injustices, nor can we be indifferent to the suffering of others. Stoicism encourages us to view every action in our lives as part of the larger picture of the community and the world. Today, social divisions are increasing, and many people feel lost in a rapidly changing world. However, it is precisely in such times that justice becomes more important than ever. It is not just about following laws or ethics, but also about doing the right thing, protecting fairness, and defending the rights of those around us. For example, in daily life, we may face many situations that require fair decisions. Imagine you are a manager in a company, and you have to decide who will be promoted. If you choose someone simply because they are your close friend, despite someone else being more deserving, that would be an unfair act. In this case, you can see that making the right and fair decision not only benefits individuals but also helps build a fair and trustworthy work environment for everyone. However, there are times when justice meets strong resistance from others due to their personal interests. In such cases, perseverance in upholding justice, even if it brings difficulties and challenges, is something that each of us must do. Therefore, developing a value system based on justice is crucial. When we live a just and ethical life, we not only set an example for others but also contribute to building a better society. One of the key aspects of justice in Stoicism is the noble ideal we strive for. Justice is not about doing the right thing only for personal gain but about serving the common good of society as a whole. This means that we must see our actions not only in a personal context but in the broader context of the community and the world. We must always remember that no one can live solely for themselves. Our actions must be guided by a noble ideal, an ideal of fairness, sincerity, and protecting the rights of the vulnerable. One of the important concepts in Stoic philosophy, Stoicism, is expanding the circle of concern, an idea emphasized not only in the works of Marcus Aurelius but also deeply developed by other Stoic philosophers, particularly hierarchals. This circle of concern is a model for understanding the relationship between individuals, the community, and the broader world. This concern should not be limited to close relationships but must extend to all people, regardless of their location, nationality, or cultural background. A famous quote from Marcus Aurelius in his book Meditations serves as a clear testament to this idea. All people are part of the universe. If you do not do good for others, you cannot live in accordance with your nature. This serves as a reminder of each person's role in the broader picture of society and, more importantly, the significance of expanding our concern and responsibility toward those around us, those who are different from us, and even those we have never met. One of the most beautiful images that Stoic philosophy uses to describe the relationship between people is the concept of hierarchals, concentric circles. According to hierarchals, we can imagine society as a series of concentric circles, with each circle representing a different group of people in our lives. At the center is ourselves, followed by family, friends, the surrounding community, and, finally, all of humanity. The inner circle, self, the closest circle, is ourselves. This is where we focus on self-improvement and self-care. In Stoic philosophy, self-improvement is extremely important. In order to help and love others, we must first take care of and develop ourselves. The circle of family and friends, beyond our own circle, is family and friends, the people closest to us. Stoicism teaches that love and sharing in these relationships help us further develop the ability to live harmoniously and justly within the community. The circle of the community, next, is the community, the people living around us, whether they are neighbors, colleagues, or those in our geographic area. For Stoics, concern and responsibility toward the community are inseparable from practicing virtue, as every individual in the community contributes to building a just and happy society. The circle of humanity, finally, the widest circle, is all of humanity, people we may never meet, who do not share our race, nationality, or religion. This is the group of people for whom we must expand our concern, help, and love, because they are human just like us, with the same right to live and be respected. With this model of concentric circles, we can see that every action we take, no matter how small, can impact those around us, whether near or far. The role of philosophy is to help us expand these circles, not only caring for those closest to us but also for strangers, for people we may never meet but whom we must still love and do good for. The next question is, how do we practice and expand the circle of concern in daily life? Stoic philosophy is not just a theory but a way of life. This means that we must apply these principles to concrete actions in our everyday lives. In the book Meditations, Marcus Aurelius emphasizes that we cannot control everything in life, but we can control how we respond to what happens. This applies not only to personal issues but also to social and community matters. Expanding the circle of concern means facing and acting on the issues around us that we can change, even if it is just a small step. Suppose you live in a neighborhood with poor environmental conditions, where trash is carelessly discarded, affecting the health of the community. Although you cannot change everything, you can start by joining a cleanup group or even simply reminding people about the importance of maintaining public hygiene. This is a way to expand your circle of concern from those around you to the larger community. Empathy, understanding the emotions and pain of others, is an important factor in expanding the circle of concern. Stoicism teaches that we do not live only for ourselves but also for the community and humanity. When we can empathize with the suffering of others, we realize that we are all interconnected in an inseparable network. Another example could be participating in charity work or supporting people in difficult situations, not only within the community but also in other countries. Empathy helps us recognize that even though they are not our relatives, they are still human beings who deserve to be loved and helped. One of the important lessons that Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics in general want to convey is putting the common good above personal interests. When we expand our circle of concern, we need to recognize and act not only for ourselves but also for the greater good of society. In a work situation, you may be assigned an important project. However, if you decide to work only for personal gain without considering your team or the development of the company, you overlook the common good. However, when you expand your circle of concern and work toward a common goal, you not only create value for yourself but also for the entire team. History has always been a powerful source of inspiration in understanding the significance of expanding the circle of concern. Figures such as Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela are prime examples of expanding concern and acting for the common good. Mahatma Gandhi fought not only for the rights of the Indian people but also for humanity as a whole. His struggles were not merely against the British Empire but were also a fight against injustice and racial discrimination worldwide. Gandhi expanded his circle of concern from himself and his homeland to oppressed people everywhere. One interesting story about injustice and poor decision-making in history is that of Joseph Kennedy, the father of President John F. Kennedy. Between 1938 and 1940, he was the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom and avoided confronting the truth about Hitler and Nazi Germany. He believed that the war against Hitler was unwinnable and often downplayed the dangers of the regime. His misjudgments were not only politically wrong but also carried severe moral implications. These mistaken decisions by Joseph Kennedy had a significant impact on how the Kennedy family perceived justice. This explains why John F. Kennedy might have been misunderstood when he said, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." However, what he truly meant was the importance of standing up for justice, not remaining indifferent. In today's society, with its turbulence, conflicts, and complex ethical issues, choosing to remain neutral or silent has become a common choice, even a lifestyle encouraged by many. Meanwhile, Stoicism teaches us that neutrality is not an option when faced with critical moral situations. Stoicism does not only require us to act in self-defense but also demands that we take responsibility for the community and confront the major issues of society. Today, in our society, ethical dilemmas, from social injustices to political conflicts, often tempt people to remain silent or neutral. This indifference stems from fear of involvement, loss of stability, or simply a desire to avoid difficult issues. Neutrality has become the safe choice, especially in situations where clear ethical decisions must be made. However, Stoicism never acknowledges neutrality as an option. For a Stoic, indifference to ethical issues is a form of injustice. As Marcus Aurelius said in Meditations, "We can commit injustice not only by actions but also by inaction." This is one of the core principles of Stoicism. Failing to act in crucial moments can make us part of the injustice or even complicit in wrongdoing. Stoicism is not just about personal development, it is a way of life deeply tied to responsibility for the community and society. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all emphasize that each individual is part of a greater whole, and therefore, every action we take impacts others. Indifference and neutrality in moral situations are not only irresponsible but also harmful to the community, as our silence allows wrongdoing to continue unchallenged. According to Stoic philosophy, choosing neutrality in moral situations is a way of denying one's responsibility toward the world and those around us. When we fail to speak up or take action against injustices, we indirectly affirm that everything is fine as it is and that intervention is unnecessary. Suppose you are an employee in a large company, where unethical behaviors such as financial fraud, abuse of power, or discrimination occur. If you choose to remain silent and do nothing, you are not only standing aside but also indirectly supporting this injustice. Your indifference is a form of approval, allowing these wrongdoings to continue unchecked. Stoicism requires each person to act for justice, not only to protect personal rights but also for the common good. Although you have the right to remain silent or stand aside, this philosophy affirms that action is the responsibility of every individual. When facing injustice, not only in the workplace but also in society as a whole, we must stand up and take action. A famous example of acting for justice is the story of Martin Luther King Jr. In the 1960s. King devoted himself to the civil rights movement for African Americans in the context of severe racial segregation in American society. When society was immersed in indifference and inaction, King and his comrades fought not only with words but also with actions to protect justice and human rights. They stood up not just for themselves but for all the oppressed, even when this struggle was dangerous and arduous. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius repeatedly emphasized that living virtuously is not easy, and it requires active participation in life and society. One of the important points he mentioned is the responsibility of each person toward the community and justice. Marcus Aurelius viewed each individual as part of a larger universe, and every action, no matter how small, affects the integrity of society. He believed that standing aside and avoiding moral responsibilities is unacceptable. According to him, doing the right thing is not always easy and may bring personal risks, but it is the only way to live a meaningful life and contribute to a just society. When we fail to act in important moral situations, we not only become entangled in the cycle of injustice but can also cause long-term consequences, not only for ourselves but also for the community around us. One consequence of neutrality is the loss of self-respect. A person who does not act in critical moments may feel that they no longer live according to the values they uphold. This leads to guilt and inner unease, knowing that they could have done more but chose to remain silent. Imagine you are a doctor in a hospital where there is a severe shortage of medical equipment. You know that patients need immediate treatment, but because of fear of risk and reluctance to cause controversy, you choose to stand aside. However, when you witness patients dying due to this shortage, you will feel guilty for not taking action. Your silence, although a safe choice, has cost you your own self-respect. Indifference not only affects individuals but also weakens communities. When many people choose not to act on important issues, the community becomes weak and loses its ability to change and develop. This leads to a stagnant and unjust society, where wrongdoers can continue without consequences. Throughout history, periods of societal indifference and silence have led to authoritarian regimes and oppression. For example, during World War II, if there had been no people brave enough to stand against fascism, the world could have been permanently consumed by cruelty and injustice. It was the courageous actions of those who resisted that helped restore justice to the world. Stoicism teaches that neutrality is not an option. Remaining silent or failing to act when facing injustice is a form of participation in that injustice. We must act for justice, for the community, and for the greater good of humanity. In a world full of challenges and conflicts, silence is not just a choice, it is a renunciation of one's own moral responsibility. Each of us may not be able to change the entire world, but through the smallest actions, we can still make a difference. You might think that you are too insignificant to influence major social issues, but it is precisely the small, heartfelt actions of individuals that can create a powerful wave, strong enough to transform an entire community. Stoicism not only teaches us how to maintain inner peace but also helps us clearly recognize that each individual has a role in building a just society. Stoicism is a philosophy of life, not just for theoretical contemplation but for action. From controlling personal emotions to engaging in larger moral issues, Stoicism emphasizes that values like justice and courage cannot be merely reflected upon, they must be demonstrated through action. Imagine each of us as a small candle in a dark room. Sometimes, you may feel that your light is too weak to illuminate the vast space. But if everyone lights their own candle, together we can transform the darkness into a bright and radiant place. Every small act of justice, no matter how insignificant it may seem, can spread and create great change. And from this, we begin to build a world where justice is not just a distant ideal but a tangible reality, shaped by the real actions of individuals. Therefore, I want to emphasize once again that justice is not an option, it is an obligation. We cannot stand aside when injustices occur around us. If we fail to act and do not care about what is happening, we unintentionally become part of the problem. Do not let indifference and neutrality dictate your life. The values we pursue will not automatically manifest in society, they must be protected and cultivated through real, responsible actions. If you find this message meaningful and want to share the belief in justice and courage in life, do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and family. We may not be able to change everything immediately, but when we share and act together, we can make it happen. Together, we can create a community where justice and truth are defended and widely spread. Remember, every small step, every action for justice, even if you do not see immediate results, contributes to making the world a better place. We are the ones who create this change. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned so you don't miss important messages about life, justice, and Stoicism.